It's time for the final set of matches for today in Group B. These are what are known as decider matches. The loser is out, and the winner moves on to top 16. The first player coming out is the reigning Magic the Gathering Player of the Year. From Argentina, join me in welcoming Luis Salvatto. Yes, Luis, soak it all in. And Luis' opponent, who brought great enthusiasm after last round's victory. From the USA, let's welcome Skybilz, Allison, Maino. Once again, she'll be running green-red aggro and mono-red aggro. Let's head over to our casters to find out who the final player to move on to the round of 16 will be.
Thank you, Day 9. Welcome back to the booth here at the Mythic Invitational, powered by Omen by HP. We've got a decider. Day 9 said it, and he put it correctly. This is a decider match. This is one that is going to say, you're through. You're one of the four that's going to escape this group.
Win or go home.
Or you're not, and you get to enjoy the rest of packs for the weekend. So everything on the line for our two players down in the feature here. Again, Luis Salvatto versus Skybilz. And it's kind of interesting because Salvato's been playing, high-level tournaments or whatever for a long time. And even the players who have been doing that, I heard Shahar say this, like, I'm still kind of shaking a little bit, my heart's beating. Right, this is an intense environment. Skybilz just came off of a super intense win against Shahar, and she has to now calm herself all the way back down to earth here and focus in on her really tough opponent, Luis Salvatto.
Well, depending on the type of person she is, though, sometimes that can amp you up, get you ready, and can give you confidence. Like,
sure.
Oh, I just did that, I can do this. That might help. So it depends on how she is. We don't know. She's kind of an unknown to us in competitive Magic, so that could be good for her.
Yeah. I will say, she told me that she's involved in the speedrunning community, right? And that has to have that level of intensity too,
absolutely.
Where like you're setting a personal record, Am I going to get there?
And then
like
you get to the end and make one mistake.
Yeah,
no.
or you do it and it's,
But
But you have to deal with that, throughout the whole course of doing something like that.
So one of the things I wanted to mention was we're going to look at the deck list. I was going to say, if you're Luis Salvatto, right, this is his mono white list. I think it looks pretty much almost exactly the same as everyone else, except the one baffling end here, which is kind of another removal spell, which is a cheaper Conclave Tribunal, assuming you're not convoking against all these other aggro decks. But if you're Luis, I think you don't want to be matched up against the mono-red aggro deck. I think you're hoping this deck gets paired against the green-red aggro deck. Whereas even though maybe the creatures are a little bigger, as we've seen today on the broadcast, the green-red aggro hasn't been faring well against the mono-white because it just goes so wide, so fast, has some flyers to get that last bit of damage in, whereas mono-red has things like Goblin Chain Whirler, which is just, it's pretty bad. So I think he's hoping this deck gets matched up against the mono-red aggro, and he gets this deck matched up against the green-red aggro. This deck is, again, pretty standard from what we've seen today, traditional Esper control. I don't see anything really unique about it. It does have one Mastermind's Acquisition, not four like some of the decks we saw earlier. One Kaya in the main deck.
Yep, looks pretty straightforward otherwise from there. What about for Skybilz? We mentioned that she's brought two aggressive decks to the table. The first one is green-red aggro. This is her deck A.
And this is basically mono-green. I mean, the only red is Gruul Skybreaker and one copy of Thud. Thud's pretty interesting.
The Thud is gas.
Especially with Galta, you can just, like any target, right? So you can just pay one red and take 12 from this Galta, which is pretty amazing. So it's especially if you don't want to play Galta, if it doesn't have haste, they can untap Kaya's Wrath It, or they can, Kaya's Wrath It, or tuck it with Teferi, all kinds of things. Whereas Thud, you're taking 12 right now.
That's right. And again, mono red is the other matchup. So you were saying if you're Skybilz now, you were talking from Salvato. So what do you want to see exactly?
I think if you're Skybilz, you want to play the mono white deck with your mono red deck.
Okay, that would be your ideal setup.
I don't know if you love your green red aggro deck against Esper control, but it is where your threats are such you don't have to deploy a lot of them. You can kind of put one out, make them deal with it. Put one out, make them deal with it. Other than like Nohad Ferox is huge in another example where you have to pay a lot of extra mana. Now, Galta does make you play out more creatures, but there's only one Galta anyway.
Right, but you mentioned that. I mean, it's true. Growth Chamber Guardian. Put it out, say go. If you don't kill it, I'm going to get a couple more of these things. I'm going to keep chaining them together. And it's a 4/4 by the time you adapt it. It's big. It's a big threat.
Yeah, and I think you might actually want the mono red aggro against Esper Control, but you definitely want it against the white aggro.
Let's take a look at the opening hands here. It looks like Skybilz is on mono red.
On the play.
To start things off, on the play, and Esper Control now for Salvato. Now, this is not the matchup that you said was perfect. How would you feel if you were Skybilz here?
I'm still okay with it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm on the play, and like I said, you can, and you know, chip shot burn damage really adds up. I think,
does she have an experimental frenzy in her opener? Uh-oh.
She has a frenzy. She has 2
her
lands.
Weapon of choice.
Early creature, light up the stage. She can play on 2. I mean, it's a pretty solid hand. Salvato being on the draw means your Fanatic's going to get in for that 1 point of damage, which can allow you to light up the stage on 2. Salvato's hand actually was a little interesting. He didn't have any blue mana. He only had 2 land. He did have Cry the Carnarium.
Do you think he's going to keep it?
It's tough. He doesn't know he's up against mono red, and Cry the Carnarium's not that great against the green red aggro. I mean, it can stop. Let's see, it does eat Branchwalker, Harpooner, Guardian. I guess it's okay.
Okay, so there's a keep there on the bottom, but are we going to get a keep on the top is the real question here. No blue mana. No, he's going to send it back.
Yeah, he had 4 cards that cost 4. That's just too much.
So he has decided to keep his 6-card opener here, though, has Salvato. And we are underway in our decider here in Group B. Fanatical Firebrand kicks things off for Skybilz. She chips in for that 1 damage you mentioned, David. Tap land now from Salvato. Land, attack you for 1. And are we just going to fire off a lightning strike here? Oh, sorry, light up the stage. Didn't even see that. That's even better.
She did play a land first, which you usually want to wait because you might hit 2 lands off your light up the stage. You can play them both. It ended up not mattering here. Now
the question is, do you fire off the second one?
I actually don't think you do, because now you can't, like look at this right here.
Something's going to get stranded.
You can play the land and Chain Whirler, but let's say that wasn't a land. Let's say that was another 2-drop. You have 3/2/2, and next turn you're only going to have at most 3 mana. Yeah. So I think you would probably wait here.
Okay, well, Thought Erasure now from Salvato, our player of the year.
Against a deck like Esper Control, I think you want to get as much card advantage as you can, or you at least don't want to waste any. And I think by casting the second light up the stage there, you do waste that. I actually think the Runaway Steamkin here is more important, especially with Experimental Frenzy. Assuming you can get it going, as we saw, it's really powerful together. Yes, Chain Whirler does do 1 damage right now, but Steamkin has potential to do a lot more for you.
Yeah, the Experimental Frenzy plus Runaway Steamkin is insane. Very polite here from Skybilz. Ships the I'm thinking
and
emote.
Steamkin's ability still triggers even if your spells are countered, so it still allows you to kind of gain that mana and that power that you're going to need for those attack steps.
Well, she's decided just, you know what, I'm going to spend the most mana I can on this Chain Whirler. Put out 3 power, ping you for 1, ping you for another 1, and pass a turn back. 16 life now for Salvato. He has an Absorb, it looks like. So he's going to go ahead and play his land untapped, perhaps telegraphing that a little bit. Down to 14, and boom, 4 more damage. Halfway home now for Skybilz. Salvato's at 10. And she's just going to pass a turn back. She knows what's up.
Yeah, he played that land untapped, so he'd have Absorb open, and he's going to be able to cast Kaya's Wrath on 4 as he is right now.
So she's going to respond by Wizard's Lightning upstairs down to 7, and this is going to be a window for her to resolve Experimental Frenzy.
Yeah, that was really amazing, not amazing, excellent play, timing of her spells, because she knew that if he does cast Kaya's Wrath, the window is open, and now the Frenzy's out. Unfortunate for her, he has a Mortify. No? I thought I saw Mortify in his hand.
He's going to have to find one soon, though, and there's a Lava Runner. Here we go. Can Skybilz do the Skybilz thing that we saw last time against Shahar and have a big turn? Yes, she can. There's 1-drop into 1-drop. And boom, Lightning Strike to the top. Is there anything else? Another Lightning Strike on top of the library.
There goes Absorb to go back up to 10.
She says, sure, you got it. I got another one of those coming anyway.
Lightning Strike down to 7, plus 3 in combat. That's 6. That's going to put Salvato back at 4. He's going to be forced to Kaya's Wrath there.
Perfect for Skybilz. Hits that mountain at the end. She didn't have the land drop to give anyway, but there's Kaya's Wrath again for Salvato. Trying to stabilize it for life. It doesn't seem like it's possible, though. And there we go, Wizard's Lightning down to 1.
Oh, we need just 1 more spell, Wizard's Lightning, that's game.
And that's it. Back-to-back Wizard's Lightning off the top of the library, and Skybilz does her thing once again. Dispatches of our current player of the year. Boy, she's going to want to hang on to those Experimental Frenzies forever, isn't she?
I love the show of emotion from her after the win, too. A lot of players, I get it. You don't want to rub it in your opponent's face. You want to be respectful, but a lot of players don't show that emotion.
No, it's okay to be excited that you won.
It's okay to be happy. You won. It doesn't mean you're celebrating your opponent's loss. You're just happy you won, and I think we need to see more of that.
I do, too. I agree with you, David, and I think that it's winning Skybilz a lot of fans out there as well, because she actually shows what she's feeling.
1B
as she
over.
goes through it. Yep.
So now Luis Salvato gets to move on to mono white aggro, and she moves to the green red aggro. You know, again, I like Skybilz's matchup. I mean, mono white has been, as we've been seeing, it's been trouncing this green red aggro deck, but I think that's just because the green red aggro decks we've been watching have been flooding. Hers is more of a mono green deck, less of the red.
Interesting to see the demeanor between the two players as well. Salvato, calm, cool, collected. He's just sitting there flipping a pen in his hand like, hey, it's business time, this is what I do. And I don't know if you caught that, David, but Skybilz kind of had like the hands together and they're like, one time, just get there.
So it looks like both players chose to mulligan.
Everything on the line now for both of these players. Skybilz wins, she's through. If Salvato wins, he keeps himself alive and gives himself a chance in that critical game 3 decider. So here is mono white.
Yeah, unfortunately, Skybilz.
This is a mull to 6 again here for Salvato.
Both players, mull to 6.
Both players,
wow.
okay.
2-drop is just what Skybilz wanted, because it looked like she wasn't going to have anything till turn 3, which sometimes can be a little too late against these mono white decks.
This is a good start, though, for Salvato. He's already got 3 creatures on the battlefield, looking to threaten transforming that Legion's Landing up there or getting the Venerated Loxodon going as well.
So it looks like he's going to send all 3 of his creatures into the Growth Chamber Guardian. She'll probably block the 1/1, which is fine because it transforms basically the 1/1 into a flipped Legion's Landing, which can produce more 1/1s.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do here, David. Ships the team in there. She snaps off the block on the 1/1. She'll only take 2 damage as a result. But critically, Legion's Landing becoming a Danto the first for it, it's a land. That was the 3rd land that he needed to get this History of Benalia down. He casts it, passes the turn back here. Steel Leaf Champion. This thing is dwarfing the board right now as a 5/4.
Yeah, even if the Benalish Marshal comes down this turn, the biggest creature will have is 3 powers, so he still won't be able to get through the Steel Leaf Champion this turn.
But boy, this turn's nice.
The Benalish Marshal is a knight, and next turn, Chapter 3 of History of Benalia will give all 3 knights on the board +1/+1.
And this is
+2/+1.
And this is critical. His whole team picking up +1/+1 counters from Venerated Loxodon, and you can see Salvato trying to set up for the win in a turn or 2. Can Skybilz create enough defense on her side to prevent an attack from Salvato? Ooh, another Venerated Loxodon off the top of the library, David.
I actually don't think that Loxodon's going to matter too much because I think Salvato's going to send his creatures and attack with them because they're all 5 or 6 power.
Okay.
They're all too big, and I actually think it's not quite lethal. It's 1 short if you were to block the
5, 10, 16. It's 1 short, you're right.
But if you do attack with everything, and especially now giving your Benalish Marshal indestructible with the Dauntless Bodyguard if it's blocked, Skybilz won't be left with any blockers and will be at 1 if you attack with everything.
So huge advantage here for Salvato. He mulliganed to 6. That did not slow him down at all. And you can see the advantage to emptying your hand onto the battlefield as quickly as possible. Skybilz's hand is awesome. She's got a whole bunch of great stuff going on. It's just too slow.
It's just too slow.
1 creature per turn ain't going to cut it against this mono white deck. And everything's in. She's going to think about her options here. And she can survive for a turn, but she's going to be at 1.
Yeah, she's going to be at 1 and have 0 creatures on the board against a board of, even if you were able to trade, but you can only trade with 2 against a board of 1 creature.
5 creatures.
3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
There's no way that this red-green deck has the tools that it needs to come back. Exactly. And it looks like she took lethal there anyway, so that is game number 2 going to Luis Salvato. He says, not so easy. We're going to go to a game number 3 in our decider and see if it'll be Skybilz or Luis Salvato.
I think she's going to go back to her trusty red deck. It's been doing her well. You know, it's been winning for her. I think she's going to go there.
I think you're right.
And I think we all know that. I think they know that, which gives Luis the advantage of kind of knowing what he's likely going to be up against. I don't think he wants to take his mono white aggro deck against the red deck. Goblin Chainwhirler is just too powerful. So I think we're going to see him Esper control here and her on mono red.
Whew, take a deep breath. We got one more game to go here from this one, and it's going to be close. I want to mention, by the way, we are at PAX East, and we're sitting down here on the main stage, the main floor right now, you know, with all the other booths and gamers and everybody running by. On Sunday here, we're going to have the War of the Spark trailer for the world premiere at 10:30 a.m., and we are back underway.
Quick, I was right about the matchup. Salvato was on the play, has a pretty good hand. Easy mix of land, a second turn search for Escanta, and Skybilz, you know, she's got what her deck wants. She's got land, Only 3 land. Good mix of land and spells.
She doesn't have what she wants. All she really wants is Experimental Frenzy.
You want to draw that on 4 once
Good
you have
point.
the 4th land. You don't need it in your opening hand.
So maybe she's just timing it out properly here.
Exactly.
Man, I have never seen anybody play an Experimental Frenzy the way that Skybilz has. It's like a violinist just going to town. All right, so how are we looking here from Salvato's side? He's got Kaya, Orzhov, Usurper here on turn number 3. And she's actually going to do something. The minus ability to take down one of the Fanatical Firebrands.
Yeah, but
And
Chain
there's a
Whirler
Chain Whirler
does
plus
1
an
damage
attack.
to the Planeswalkers and opponent. So now she's going to attack with the Firebrand. That plus Chain Whirler's ability will take out the Kaya.
Down to 14 already for Salvato as well. He's really going to need to get back on board here. Akaya's Wrath
Wow.
this turn would do quite nicely, thank you very much.
If you
And
didn't
there we
notice.
go with that land off the top.
Didn't have the second black mana. Had a Hollowed Fountain. Needed to draw a second black mana to be able to cast that Kaya's Wrath, or he was going to be in trouble.
Wizard's Lightning upstairs is going to get that extra power on, and another 3 damage
Oh
plus
my.
2 more. It's down to 6 now. Skybilz on the offensive. She has 2 power on the battlefield, 2 damage in her hand.
And
This one could
Salvato-
be over very quickly.
He doesn't have an answer to this. Get through
And
Lava
there's a
Runner.
lightning strike off the top of the library.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
Attack you for 2.
If she's patient, if
Yes.
she passes, he's going to cast... No! He's going to cast Chemister's Insight almost certainly to search for an answer.
Yeah, he really had no choice, but now he gets to pay Absorb to
Oh.
put him back up to 7. He dodges certain death here,
Yeah.
and he gets to fight another day, though. He's going to be in bad shape here.
I think if she passed,
Yeah.
because he was out of 1 burn spell
Yes.
range, he was above 3, and he needs an answer to the Get to Lava Runner, I think he likely would have cast Chemister's Insight, and she could have responded with double burn spell and won the match.
I think you're right, but now we've got a totally different game here. Still, she is really
Absorb
putting the
to the
pressure
graveyard.
on. Wow.
He really wants an answer, but Absorb is such a key spell here. Being at 5, it takes 3 attacks to kill you.
No kidding, especially when you have Chemister's Insight in your hand already as well. He does find his copy of Mastermind's
Oh.
Acquisition, and Skybilz Brick, she draws a mountain for the turn. That is not going to do it. Oh, did she misclick?
Oh, no.
She didn't attack.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Not
no.
like this.
Okay, well, that means that Salvato gets to stay at 5 life rather than going down to 3 and
no.
moving into range of Wizard's Lightning and Lightning Strike. This could be disaster for Skybilz.
She's gotta
Here's
keep it
Mastermind's
together.
Acquisition. What can he find to get himself out of this mess?
I know what he can find.
Oh, no.
Sanguine Sacrament.
Sanguine Sacrament.
Sacrament, yeah.
There
Oh,
it
no.
is.
Oh, no.
Oh, he went right for it. You were right, David. He found the Sanguine Sacrament
Yeah.
immediately. It goes in his hand.
And Ascanta
Runaway
likely flips.
Steamkin is not
3, 6,
going to
7,
do it here. Is this one slipping away from Skybilz?
Unfortunately, it looks like the non-attack might not matter because he would be at 1 right now. The Absorb would put him back to 4.
Okay.
Ascanta flips here, plus the land, the Sacrament. He's going to go to 19, 17, somewhere out of there. Let's see how much is this. Oh.
Here's Mortify to bring Skybilz to no cards in hand, no relevant permanents on the battlefield. She's just got 4 mountains, and she draws another one for the turn. It looks like it's falling apart here
Yeah, this
for
one's-
Skybilz. Salvato capitalizing on that sick interaction that he has with his 15-card sideboard.
Yeah, this one's basically over. He knows at 6 life there's not 1 card that can do 6 damage, so he could play the land, kill the creature, and pass and search for Ascanta.
And look at what he found with Search for his Canta. Teferi,
And again,
Hero
now
of Dominaria.
he has no cards, he has no fear at 6, he can play Teferi, and he can just keep building, gaining more advantage to eventually make that Sanguine Sacrament even bigger.
Yeah, the Sacrament is going to be a huge game-swinging play when he fires it off. And look at this, he even found a moment of craving to help buffer his life total further against any future creatures. Thought Erasure, now you might look silly here, right? You're thinking, well, what is he doing? She doesn't have any cards in hand. It turns out Surveil's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to have any other use, and you might as well set up your draws
Yeah.
for future turns.
There's a shock off the top of the library. That could bring Salvato down to 4, but that's not something he's really worried about at this point. Again, the difference between 3 and 4 is huge. Now she's just going to go ahead and fire it off here.
Going to search.
Ascanta's going to get activated in response to see what Salvato can find, but he's tapped out, so this will resolve. Down to 4, draws his card for the turn. It's another Teferi.
And Mortify's
one-
a good one, because Experimental Frenzy is pretty much the only way she can get back in this game.
And he
Mortify.
can snap it off. So close for Skybilz, but it looks like Luis Salvato has fully taken control of this game. He's still sitting on that Sanguine Sacrament, and it's a way for him to gain a huge amount of life whenever he would like and really put this thing away.
Yeah, there's an important lesson here.
And look at that, he's at 24 life, David.
Yeah.
Boom.
the key thing to take away from this is that turn she went for the 2 lethal burn spells. If you're going to make that play, you should at least wait for your opponent's upkeep. So therefore, they might tap out at the end of your turn and give you a window, but if not, they have to tap out on their turn, which gives you a window to do things if when you draw your hand, when you draw your next card because they're tapped out.
So you're either taxing their resources or just winning the game on the spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, give yourself those opportunities. And in the meantime, the value train has left the station. Luis Salvato is at the forefront of that. He's got the Teferi Hero of Dominaria rolling. He's the one who's flashing back Chemist's Insights and casting them from his hand. And it seems like it's just a matter of time now. At 26 life, Skybilz got so close. So close. So close to defeating. She had to defeat Shahar Shenhar into Luis Salvato if she was going to advance. That is an absurdly difficult task. 2 extremely good Magic players.
No, she's done amazing to make it this far. And I think the one little misstep is just about experience. I mean, she hasn't been playing Magic that long, as she said herself. And that's something you learn after just getting the reps in, after playing these burn decks. You learn when the windows are to go for your lethal spells. So, hats off to her. This was an incredible job getting this far. And almost got there against the player of the year.
Super, super close. But Salvato now, let's just take a look at Salvato in the upper left-hand of your screen. Does that look like a worried face? No.
No, he's in cruise control. 29 life, Teferi going off. You've got Mortify for Expendable Frenzy, Negate, Vraska's Contempt. I mean, he's got it all. Pretty soon here, we're going to have a Teferi emblem.
Yeah, already at 7. And this is also, for those of you that are newer to watching matchups like this, when you see plays like the one that we just saw, it shows the embarrassment of riches that Luis has at his disposal. He used Kaya's Wrath to kill a 1/1 in this spot, and it's because he can. He can just afford to literally go 1-for-1 with every card that you have, no matter what the 1-for-1 exchange is, and that's because look how many cards he has in his hand. He's got the full grip.
He's got Teferi ticking up and is searching for his Canta every turn. He's finding a removal spell or a counter spell. He's got it all.
She's decided not to attack here. She can use this Firebrand to keep Teferi 1 turn further away from ultimate, but it seems inevitable at this point, as Luis Salvato has a grip full of answers and removal spells right now, and it's going to be impossible for Skybilz to get anything going. The Mortify, as you mentioned earlier, key as well, because the one way that Red can actually come back from here is by sticking in an Experimental Frenzy and then having a Skybilz turn where she just goes off, but that's not going to happen here.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. And he's used his Mastermind's acquisition, so his win conditions are going to be Teferi looping for the Kea, but was the Kea destroyed in this game, or was that the previous? That was this game,
That was
correct?
this game.
So his only way to win is from Teferi Emblem decking. So luckily his life total is high enough where once he gets her down to 0 lands, her only play will be play a land and try to play a burn spell, which you can play Shock as the only one, because you won't be able to trigger turn on Spectacle. And then he'll be able to just remove that land the next draw step with the emblem. So the game is over, but it could take a while.
It could take a while here. He has bought back that Sanguine Sacrament as well. He's got that in his hand again. And maybe she'll concede when he casts that and goes up to 1 billion life. But she has under no obligation to do so, of course. This is the game 3 decider for her,
Absolutely.
So play it out, right?
You never know what might happen.
No, absolutely not. It's just up to the player playing, however they decide to proceed. In the meantime, I mean, Luis is discarding Teferis, and I mean, it's just getting completely out of hand at this point.
Yeah, next turn we're going to get an emblem here, and he can play a replacement Teferi. Actually, he's probably going to go ahead and negate this just to speed it up. He doesn't have to. You could just let this resolve.
Yep.
Keep taking your Teferi up. But
he absolutely could.
I think he just wants to get that emblem and get this going. He's ready to have some dinner.
Indeed, indeed. So here it is. Teferi, -8, going to make a Teferi emblem. Quick look at the graveyard there for Skybilz. But this emblem says whenever Luis Salvato draws a card, he can exile a permanent from his opponent. And that means that those 6 mountains are not long for this world.
Well, he wisely hasn't jump-started a Chemist's Insight. So now at the end of turn, he can cast 2 Chemist's Insights, each draw 2 cards, bye-bye 4 mountains, untap, draw another one, and then that's it.
There's a Wizard's Lightning off the top of the library. The window's going to close quickly for her to have mana to even cast that. And it doesn't look like it's going to be relevant this game.
Yeah, he chose not to even bother with the Chemist's Insight. He could save those as creatures came down, I guess.
Sure.
Possibly didn't want to discard any of the cards in his hand. There's really no hurry.
Now, why don't you talk us through, so we talked about Kaya, but she's in the graveyard. So how else can this game end? By the way, 47 life now, David.
This game ends with Skybilz drawing a card with no cards in their library, assuming she does not concede, because once the Teferi emblem is here, exile all the permanents. Eventually, when Luis has no deck left, he'll use Teferi's -3 ability to put Teferi back on top of its deck. He'll draw that Teferi, cast it, and just repeat, repeat, repeat. So therefore, he has inevitability. He won't be able to deck, and eventually she'll run out of cards. And here goes the Chemist's Insight, exiling 2 of her mountains.
She's drawn light up the stage, but cannot cast it. And once again, even your draw step triggers that Teferi emblem. So now Skybilz is down to no permanents on the battlefield. And the most she'll have for the rest of the game is 1.
1. There's no way to play more lands in 1 turn, and he'll always exile the land. If she somehow plays land in a 1-drop, he can either kill the 1-drop with a spell in his hand or cast one of these Chemist's Insights to exile the land and the 1-drop.
Salvato managing his resources well in the early and mid stages, and now he has an embarrassment of them.
Yeah, he was going to have to discard that. He's got enough mana, so he's just going to play it to draw a card. So he's effectively cycling for 5 mana one of the Teferis.
Yeah, and now, and he minus Teferi on itself already, so here we go with that plan. And there's that mountain. It's not long for this world, just going to stick around for 1 turn. The draw step from Luis Salvato is going to take care of that. And this is the pattern that we're going to see for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he gets a draw every turn, and she does not get a mountain every turn. So there's even turns where he just doesn't have to do anything at all other than put the Teferi back on top of his deck.
And there's the Teferi.
And the loyalty's high enough, there's not even a window for her to play a mountain and play a 1-drop spell to kind of get a Teferi if she would ever have a mountain available on his turn.
Maybe we could take a look at what it looks like from Salvato's perspective up there. I mean, we saw him checking his library occasionally.
Gonna go ahead and Thought Erasure. Take the burn spell. I mean, listen, maybe he misclicks.
That's kind of the plan at this point, right? I mean, through normal game actions, this one will result in a Luis Salvato victory.
Not sure what that misclick could be, but maybe he exiles his own Teferi with his draw step, but it's only a permanent an opponent controls, so he can't even do that.
You're right, he cannot. Mountain, go.
I think one thing she might want to consider, I mean, not that it matters, but you could hold the mountain until you have a shock or until you have a 1-drop creature, so you can play them both in the same turn. But again, at 47 life,
right,
not going to do much.
Not a lot of pride in getting your opponent from 47 to 45 when you're sitting here playing a mono red deck. So we're just going to go through the motions here, get a little hangout time. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm with David Williams, and we are at PAX East bringing you coverage of the Mythic Invitational, powered by Allman by HP. Thanks so much for joining us wherever you are around the world. We appreciate you taking the time. Pop in and hang out with us.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. We could maybe check in on the other match with Legend and Amazonian instead of watching Luis put Teferi back on top of his deck over and over again. Got another exciting winning in going on behind us.
Now we're in the discard phase here for Skybilz, as she has failed to find mountains for the last few turns, so she's just got to discard. And as we said before, this is a loop that Luis Salvato can do indefinitely. He plays Teferi, minus his targeting itself. That puts it back into his library. If it's his only card, if he doesn't have a library, it becomes the top of his library. He draws that card for the turn and repeats the process over and over. It's a little weird, right? This is kind of like, wait, this is what's going on? But yes, this is exactly what's going on. And at this point, Luis Salvato has 87 life.
And going.
And not slowing down either. There's a Fanatical Firebrand for Skybilz just to send a message. I'm still fighting this fight. But in the meantime, it's all about Teferis.
Let's see how high he can get his life total. I like that game. Got to get to 4 digits. Could be a while.
All right, well, you know what we're going to do? This one's done. We're calling it. This one's in the books. Now,
we're calling it? It's official?
We're done here. That's it. Luis Salvato, congratulations. We're going to call it. We'll update you when the actual game has fully, completely, officially ended. But rather than sit through watching Teferi jump from hand to battlefield to deck and do that loop over and over again, we're going to actually get set up and take a look at our other match. You just mentioned it a second ago, David, and we've got Amazonian playing against Legend in the same exact situation. Uh-oh, what do we have here? A victory. It looks like maybe that's game 2 going to Legend. It is indeed.
Going to game 3.
This is great. That means that we get yet another game 3 decider, and it looks like it has officially finished. Skybilz is extending the hand, but it looks like Luis says, I'm going to do this properly, come over, give you a quick hug. Great run by Skybilz. You mentioned it before, but really something to be proud of.
Absolutely.
Her performance here at the Mythic Invitational, but it does end here, and that is Luis Salvatto with the big fist pump
moving on
coming
to
off
the top
stage,
16.
and he is going to move on out of Group B here. So great stuff. And a great play. It looks like Amazonian may have been rooting for Skybilz. She gave a little bit of a frowny face there when she saw the result. But she's got her hands full here because she's got to still play her game 3 decider against Legend.
So me and you and I, saw Legend earlier. It was Golgari Explorer and Esper Controller as 2 decks. Oh, we're going to get, looks like. And Amazonian brought Selesnya aggro and mono white aggro. Looks like she's on the mono white on the play. Oh, excuse me, this is Selesnya aggro. My apologies.
Okay. Yeah, it's currently a pair of Tristanis, a Conclave Tribunal, a Tide Taker, and 3 lands. That's a little bit of a clunker.
This is one of those.
Oh, look at this. Back and forth keep.
I was going to say, this is one of those ones where it's like, it's not
I know.
so bad, it's an easy mulligan, but it's not a snap keep. It's like,
know. It's funny. She summed it up perfectly with back and forth, back and forth. Fine.
You got to fill that draw out. You got to hit some three drops and a 4 drop other than Conclave Tribunal. You got to get some more stuff on the board.
She doesn't look super happy with it, I'll be honest. But here's Legend, and he's kept his hand, and we're underway here. Amazonian on the play, leads off with that Temple Garden. Memorial to Folly is going to be the land here for Legend before he passes the turn back. Land number 2, and the only 2 drop going right now is Tithe Taker. Ooh.
Well,
hello, Growth Chamber Guardian.
Yeah, but you already had 1 in hand. Having 2 is, like I said, you don't want to waste your draw phases on those. You can get them for free. He's already got 3 Carnage Tyrants in his hand, which is, you know, it's a great card, but it does cost 6 mana, so it's not where you really want to be with 3 of them in your hand.
Yeah, Legend would have traded off that Growth Chamber Guardian for a land in a heartbeat.
Just going to go ahead and get rid of the Growth Chamber Guardian, but unluckily, Legend drew another. Turns out wasn't so bad drawing that second one.
Yeah, no, you're right, because remember, you don't get the other ones in hand until you start paying for the adapt, so it worked out. Amazonian prioritizing getting rid of the Growth Chamber Guardian.
He's going to go ahead and play the Woodland Cemetery and Fungal Infection now because of the taxing ability of Tithe Taker. Wouldn't be able to cast it next turn.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying because you'd much prefer to kill the Tide Taker on their turn where they can't attack you with the 1/1, but hey, you do what you got to do.
I feel like Tristani should have Convoke.
Probably too good.
It might be a little too powerful.
Yeah. Probably too good.
Well,
resources have been exchanged, and Legend wants to see lands and as many as he can get as soon as he can get, because he needs 1 more before the, not the next turn, but the turn after that to start slamming Carney T after Carney T. Carnage Tyrant, extraordinarily difficult to get rid of and much bigger than anything that Amazonian is going to be putting on the battlefield.
Yeah, he's got 2 turns to draw a land. There it is.
There it is.
So
2
we're going to see
untapped lands.
A never-ending string of Carnage Tyrants starting next turn.
Is it enough? It's slow.
It is slow. It does have trample.
Yes.
Tristani, I mean, what Amazonian needs is a March of the Multitudes.
Yes, that would be great here because currently that Tristani is just sitting there doing work. I wonder if Legend wants to cash in this Sapperling to soak up 3 damage. No, he's going to wait a turn, given that those Knights will be much bigger next turn.
She's actually got enough creatures to where she can do some blocks. I mean, right now, 2 Knight tokens trade with this Carnage Tyrant. He doesn't have a great attack.
I think she's looking at her attacks here. I mean, she has gotten out to quite a lead here. 13 life now for Legend. Does she have an attack here, or is Carnage Tyrant holding down the fort?
Let's see. If Carnage Tyrant eats one of the 5/4s.
And then she chumps the other one.
Chumps the other one. That's only 6, goes to 7. She's at 19.
That ain't it.
So she's in no fear of being attacked back. I might hold back Tristani, though.
She's in.
Although I guess if you send Tristani, if he wants to block Tristani.
Does he really have that option to take an additional 5? He would take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
No, you can't go to 2. So great attack here.
Yeah.
Great attack. And with 5 mana open and Sapperling Migration, she can actually play Sapperling Migration and make a Lockstone. And now that I think about it, having a backup Tristani in hand there's no fear in sending that Tristani.
Right,
They're legends anyways, so you can't have both out. Might as well just send it. If he does want to block it and go to 2, you could play another.
Is this Amazonian taking the next step here in her decider against Legend? It looks like it to me.
I believe so. I believe a second Carnage Tyrant is not enough.
He needs to find finality here.
I think that's it.
Carnage Tyrant is not going to do it, and he knew he needed the top deck. You saw him hovering his mouse over his library. And Adventurous Impulse, that ain't it, as we say in the business. Look at the board state on the other side.
Yeah, you can block a 4/4 and a 5/5, and you're still taking 6, 12, 13 damage at 6.
More Carnage Tyrant. A Jade Light Ranger still doesn't seem like it's nearly enough to keep him alive. And remember, Jade Light Ranger does not put cards into your hand. The best he can do is set up his draw step for next turn, and that ain't going to do it.
This one's over. Amazonian is moving on. Look at the smile on her face. She knows it.
Amazonian's got that smirk. She says, I got this. This is mine. Legend passes a turn back with just 3 mana available, but all she has to do is right-click, attack all, and everything's in the red zone.
Amazonian moving on to the top 16.
Wow, super impressive performance from Amazonian, getting by Legend here in our decider for Group B. Boom, 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 and that's it. And the big fist pump from Amazonian. Congratulations
Nicely done.
to her for making it through. You can see the relief and excitement on her face right there.
Absolutely. What a feeling. I mean, like you say, she was really close to mulliganing that hand. I mean, it's a hand that, you know, it's like, is it good? Is it bad? You really got to draw well to fill it in, and luckily she did. You know?
It was funny because she was mousing like, I don't know.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I'm like, this is one of those ones that always gets you into trouble because I like the easy decisions. I like when, oh, it's no land, I'm mulliganing. Oh, this hand is mint.
Yes.
That hand
right
worked out.
Yeah, we call the hand needs a little help, right? That's the one. I need a little help here. But sometimes if I can get it, then those hands are really good.
Which means you got to believe in your deck. You know, your deck building, your curve in your deck. You just got to believe I built my deck correctly, and my draw will be rewarded.
That's right. You know, and that leans back to things like good mana bases, having a bunch of untapped lands, the curve that you mentioned before. You know, if she drew a 2-drop or a 3-drop in those first 2 turns, she was in pretty good shape with that hand.
Absolutely.
You know, and it turns out that's exactly what happened. So Amazonian is through, and we've got Becca Scott with our winners right now.